Good morning, everyone. This is Jeremy here at Extreme Weather Tracker, updating your tropical weather here at 10:01 a.m. on 6/23/2011. We've got a few things to talk about. First one, closer to home, you can see all this convection associated with uh, a tropical wave that emerged over the Yucatan Peninsula this past weekend, and you can see this old frontal boundary that's located in this area here, and it's interacting and enhancing this moisture that's popping up here in the western Gulf of Mexico. I don't think we'll see any development out of this as this thing drifts off to the north and east pretty slowly, but something we'll have to keep an eye on. Anytime you have a fire up of convection in the Gulf of Mexico, we definitely want to keep an eye on that. The second area I want to talk about is a tropical wave located here in the central Caribbean. We have another tropical wave located back here in the Atlantic, and both of these features are moving off to the west. And this one in the central Caribbean is moving off to the west northwest at about 10 to 15 miles per hour. Now, the models recently have really picked up on this wave here, and the consensus is that this wave will combine with this monsoonal low that's sitting down here in the very southern Caribbean, and something could possibly form out of this as it moves across the Yucatan Peninsula in probably 4 to 5 days. I'll show you the models. This is GFS, and this is Tuesday at 7 p.m. As you can see, it's picking up on something developing in the Bay of Campeche as this low pressure, this tropical wave rather, moves across the Yucatan and into the Bay of Campeche. It's showing some sort of development here, and this model here keeps it extremely far to the south, which is probably one of the more likely scenarios. I'll show you the this is a Canadian model, and this is late next week. As you can see, it's developing a rather strong system here in the southern central Gulf of Mexico. Like I said, bringing it across the Yucatan, and it's bringing it a lot farther north than the GFS is. The GFS is keeping this thing way further south, and the reason being is there's a high going to at this point in time. We'll talk a little bit about steering currents. And at this point in time, there's going to be a high pressure system sitting over Texas. There's also another high pressure. You can see this big ridge building back in here over the Atlantic. And there's going to be a weakness in that high pressure system in this area here. So, depending on the timing of the system and exactly where this high pressure is going to set up here, if it sets up, further to the west over northern Mexico, then it's very possible that the storm feels this weakness and is able to be pulled northward. At this point in time, I think that scenario is probably less likely. The Mexican coastline is probably more at risk than anywhere else. Although everybody in Texas probably should keep an eye on this should it develop. But this looks like the storm of last year, Hurricane Alex. It came across the Yucatan Peninsula, developed in this area here, and then moved into the central Mexican coastline. And this looks like the basic setup that we had. We had the high pressure system over Texas. We had the big high pressure ridge sitting back over the Atlantic, and a weakness here in the middle, central United States. And for a time, Alex moved directly north until it felt this high pressure system start to build in over Texas, and then it almost immediately just turned directly west, and even at a time went southwest and into Mexico. So at this point in time, that's probably the more likely of the scenario. But I also want to show you the Gulf water temperatures for this time of year, and this is the Gulf waters are very, very warm, as you can see, um, all the way up into uh, around the coast of Florida, all the way throughout the Gulf Coast, even into the southern Gulf Coast of Texas. We have water temperatures greater than 85 degrees. You have water temperatures in these upper areas off the coast approaching 90 degrees. So the water temperatures are very warm, plenty warm enough to support development in this area. And like I said, all this heat and energy from these waves coming across the Yucatan is piling up in this area. And so I expect to see some development, if not the end of June, definitely the 1st of July. Um, but once again, like I said, the GFS is picking up on this thing, and it's keeping it way further south. Like I said, you can see the high pressure ridge on the model. The high pressure is here, and then you see this big ridge of high pressure back in here. And the GFS is showing that the ridge on the east side is even digging in further, and this low pressure system or whatever comes of it is filling that, and it's basically going to move into the Mexican coastline. Right now, I would say that's probably the more likely of the scenarios. But once again, these models at this point, the system's not even developed, so it has a hard time picking up on exactly what it would do in the steering currents if it were to develop. I saw this Canadian model, the on further out an extended model, and it basically brings it up and into the very southern part of Texas, which would probably bring, if it's this strong of a system, would probably bring some effect, even some rainfall to our area, which would be great. But like I said, at this point in time, much too early to tell. Time will tell as what would happen. Like I said, we'll have to watch this tropical wave back in here. We have the tropical wave here, and then we had the one that moved over into Mexico. And like I said, all of this heat and energy is piling in, and we definitely have plenty of opportunity, and the conditions remain favorable for development. So once again, we'll have to see what happens. I expect in the next couple of days, the National Hurricane Center will make this tropical wave an area of interest, and probably when it gets in this area here, they'll start watching this thing more closely, as it will be prone to development at that time. And once again, hope you guys are enjoying these blogs. Hope it's informative. We will keep updating you as we deem necessary. Once again, this is Jeremy, an Extreme Weather Tracker. Hope you guys have a great afternoon.